This is the Mysterious Traveler, and this is the Inside Track. Welcome to an inside look at what it takes to make an episode of The New Tales of the Mysterious Traveler. As the Mysterious Traveler told you at the beginning of this episode, this is kind of a behind the scenes, take on what we do during, the episodes. And my name is Paul Schultz. I'm the writer, producer, sometimes actor, and man of many hats. And sitting across the internet from me is my good friend Steve Vinson, actor.
Hey, how you doing?
Actor, contributor, and now contributor definitely of the Mysterious Traveler. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. I am humbled to be sitting here across the ether from you.
No,
the Mysterious Traveler show is one of my favorite shows to listen to, and it's even more fun to contribute in small part by lending my voice, lending my sultry, deep, masculine voice to your show. It's an honor, man.
Steve's done a couple of small parts on the show, but he's also the lead character Nash in the episode Prey. That's him filling your ear sockets with his sultry voice.
So if you enjoy it, it's because of Paul's wonderful production skills. If you don't like it, it's completely my fault.
All right. So today we thought we would just kind of talk about the upcoming project we're working on. The episode 7 that is currently titled Triptych of Terror. It's kind of a play on Trilogy of Terror, which is the TV movie from when we were kids that scared the hell out of a generation. And it's basically going to be 3 small horror vignettes or sci-fi horror vignettes in one, with probably, we'll find out there's a central theme when we get them all together, and then we'll let the Mysterious Traveler figure out what to do about them.
As I said, can't thank you enough for letting me help.
I needed the help. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing for a couple of dudes to just jibber jabber on a weekly basis, but it's another thing to put together a show with stories, this kind of production value, and when you're depending on other people to, whether it's voice recording or writing stories.
Mm-hmm.
I know I tried starting one about a year ago, didn't get very far, and now I've started another one, and I've committed to having it done by the end of the month. And I know what the story is. I just got to write it down. I've gotten about half of it written down. So
you're letting the rest of it gestate in your head, or marinate, as I call it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes place somewhere in the near future. Leave it to the listener to decide how far into the near future. Some bad stuff has happened on Earth, and so a brilliant scientist decides to take it upon himself to try to save humanity, because he's going to cheat the great filter. The great filter being the answer to the Fermi paradox of, if the probability of there being intelligent life out there is so high, then where is everybody? And one theory is a great filter, which could be any number of things. It could be self-destruction on purpose or by accident. It could be any number of things. But this brilliant scientist decides he's going to figure out a way to cheat it by enlisting the help of some family members, who he sends up in a couple of twin spaceships to harvest some helium-3 from the moon and use that as fuel to get to the next spot. One of the spots that they need to get to, one of the waypoints, if you will, which any of your listeners who are into like space and what's been going on with space recently will know what a Lagrange point is. And I'm not talking about a shack out on the range. It's It's one of those spots it's a peculiar spot in space-time where you can put an object. If you can get an object there, it kind of sits there, and with minimal fuel, it kind of sits in one location relative to other gravitational bodies like the sun, Earth, Moon. And the most recent thing that's been put there is the James Webb Space Telescope, which was just launched back in January of 2022. And it's sitting there now getting calibrated. And I think within a month or so, we should be getting our first brilliant pictures back from it. But they sent it to this Lagrange point. There are about 5 of them around Earth. And this one's called Lagrange Point 2. And they sent it there so that they could minimize fuel and keep it sitting there for 10, 20 years. Now, if you could refuel it and take advantage of some of the instruments, some of the sophisticated instruments that are there on that thing, you might find out some interesting stuff. And you might be able to use it for more than just space exploration. I'll just say that.
I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson is my guest today.
Yeah.
Is
we
this
just
Star?
need Chuck Nice and we'll be all set.
Is this Star Talk?
Welcome to Star Talk. Yeah, these guys go there. They go to this Lagrange point, and they, wackiness ensues. They try to figure out if humanity can be, should be, would be saved from itself.
Yeah. It sounds, and from everything you told me, it sounds really interesting and a little more scientific than the last episode, which is basically just UFOs and whatever science they have. So
hey man, The Collectors, great story, and
it's so far my favorite episode. And it seems, I mean, everybody says that. Like, what's your favorite album that you made? Well, the latest one, because I'm pimping it.
Yeah,
But
right.
no, as far as production and everything and the help I had on it, it's my favorite episode out of all of them.
Yeah, but it leaves me wondering, where are those collectors? Where did they come from? Are they still out there somewhere? What if we could look into that a little bit? Oh, I don't know. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, that's I left it pretty open-ended because I like the audience fill in the blank, method of storytelling.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best parts about writing for audio is the audience really has to fill in the blanks, and I have to look at my script and figure out, okay, where's the part where I need to describe what's going on versus the part that I want them to explore in their own theater of the mind, as they used to call it in the heyday of radio shows. So it's a delicate balance. So
one way you can tell whether to trust somebody's review of a movie is if they say, but the ending didn't make any sense. And then either it was a bad movie, or the director, the producers wanted you to kind of fill in the blanks yourself, but this person doesn't like doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't really trust, because I don't know if it's a bad movie or you just don't like good movies. Can't tell the difference.
It's like 2001. I mean, I almost feel bad for any critic when that movie came out and panned it because the ending didn't make any sense. And then, and it did, it kind of bombed at the box office and then built up its own steam. And now it's widely regarded as one of the greatest, not just one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made, but one of the greatest, movies ever made. Yeah. And these poor guys are like, I guess I was wrong, because as you know, that the end of that movie is wide open for interpretation on purpose.
Yes. And contrast that with Interstellar, which has great visual effects and some interesting concepts. And so, as a series of concepts and special effects, good movie to kill time with. But maybe I'll be one of those critics that you'll feel sorry for in 20 years. But I'm like, the ending wasn't like, oh, I'm leaving it open to your interpretation, and it takes a cerebral person to think about it. No, the ending was just confusing. To me, it's like, it was on the nose. It was clear what happened. He went back in time and he was in that bookshelf. Say, spoiler alert. And he was in the bookshelf, right? I get it. And he made the dust on the floor and he wrote in the thing. And it's like, the confusing part was, wait, you had to stop and go, hold on, did I miss something? What am I missing? Oh, he time traveled. Okay, never mind.
I heard in the scene where he wrote the stuff in the dust on the floor. They had to do that one a lot of times because he kept writing, all right, all right, all right.
All right.
I enjoyed Interstellar, but yeah, the ending is like, who didn't get it? Who didn't?
Right.
Who wasn't paying attention?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing, my thing about Interstellar is the giant ring spaceship thing or whatever the heck it was that
Yeah.
all of Earth got together and launched.
Yeah.
Getting back to your great filter and what was the other term?
Fermi's paradox.
Yes, the paradox. It usually, I would think it would involve humanity like not destroying itself long enough to pull itself together. I don't see that ever happening.
Right.
that was I can believe time travel. This is so silly, but I can't believe
that was the unbelievable part of the thing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you got Star Trek. I mean, somehow that's people either suspended disbelief long enough to believe we could get that far without destroying ourselves, or, again, Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking to LeVar, to National Treasure LeVar Burton.
Great episode.
About sci-fi. And one of the purposes of sci-fi is to show what is possible if we are our best selves. So dystopian sci-fi, sure. Speculative fiction, whatever. Dystopian is just like, yeah, we figure that's how it's going to go. But stuff like Star Trek is more like, somebody asked, I think it was Ray Bradbury. No, was it Ray Bradbury? That'd be a better story if I remember who they asked. It's on the episode. Go listen to Star Talk with LeVar Burton. But they asked why do you write this stuff? And he's like, I'm showing you what is possible.
Yes, that was Bradbury.
If we pull ourselves together.
Yes.
And I'm showing you what might happen if we don't pull ourselves together.
and that's it for me. I don't enjoy dystopian future stories as a middle-aged man. As a kid, I loved it because it was all about the future being destroyed, and like Mad Max, for instance. Mad Max would be, I guess you could consider, post-apocalyptic, or The Handmaid's Tale and stuff like that. I don't care for that as an older person because, one, we're living in it a little bit, and two, you kind of want a brighter future. So, but I don't mind stories where basically the world gets destroyed. I don't mind that. I just don't want to, I'm fine with it being okay to the very end. I don't want all the suffering.
So just to clarify, you like the post-apocalyptic Mad Max type stuff?
I did as a kid. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked the Mad Max type post-apocalyptic stuff, and I liked your more dystopian stuff. But as I get older,
like we're living the dystopia.
Yes.
This is the future that the speculative fiction writers were trying to warn us about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So that's my piece of the thing, and there is a morality tale in there. There's there's commentary on like all good speculative fiction, even though I would not be so bold as to call this good speculative fiction, but the best speculative fiction I think has commentary. Like if you go back and read 1984, and try to apply lessons from today, it is apply its lessons to today. Yes, you can do some of that, but you really have to kind of read it. He was making commentary on his time, right, when he wrote 1984. Not like if you had asked him, like, what if we go 100 years in the future? Will this be a commentary on how Facebook is run? He'll be like, what? How what is run? What? So you don't want to make the mistake of trying to apply the lessons of a 100-year-old book to today too much. You want to be careful.
Right.
But it's really fun to like think about the moment in time. So that's like this one. I don't know, 100 years from now, if somebody's listening to The Mysterious Traveler, if they can glean some lessons for their time 100 years from now, great.
Yeah.
But my hope is maybe it'll give them a little bit of a glimpse into what things are like in 2022.
I think that's the case with all good fiction
Yeah.
is like you can I'm currently obsessed with like the science fiction and well mostly horror from like the 20s and early 30s, and it's cool to get a glimpse of what was going on then and what they thought about things and how they thought things were going to be, and what was considered high, highly technological, and but also you can what's funny is you can use like stuff that was written 1,000 years ago to look at today. Somehow, like when you get into like the fables and the parables and all those other fables, it, it's almost a mirror, and
Yeah.
it's just more interesting. So maybe in 1,000 years, 1984 will be something a little more.
I think that's a great point. That, I think one of the mistakes we make when we look on ancient people, 5,000 years ago, we have writings from, whether it's Gilgamesh or the Odyssey,
Hmm.
um, one of the things, or inventions from the time or societies of the time, we tend to ascribe to them much less cleverness and intelligence than they had.
Yeah.
The human brain hasn't evolved since 5,000 years ago. The human brain hasn't really evolved that much in the past 100,000 years, right?
Right. Right.
Since we developed cognition,
Hmm.
which took millions of years,
Yeah.
which means 5,000 years ago, the writers, they knew what was up. They had
Right.
explored life. They had thought about life. They had observed people's behavior.
Hmm.
And there were some geniuses. And
Yeah.
some of their writings have made their way to us, and they're still applicable now. So what about the other stories? Did you want to talk about those or just
Yeah,
skip to
well,
mine?
the
Mm.
we have we I had initially asked Officer Nick, who he did the voice for the Hell Rider in Hell Rider versus the Golem, and did a little other. He also was the sheriff in the last episode. He's a writer and he's a machine. That man can crank out. I did a convention with him. Well, I did a lot of conventions with him, but I did a convention with him one time, and I gave him like two writing prompts, and by the end of the day, he had the thing outlined. And then like a week later, he sent me the script.
Wow.
So I asked him if he wanted to contribute anything writing wise. So I'm still waiting to hear about that. The other story that I'm currently writing for it was in again in the collectors. The guy who plays Diamond Dog Diggins, Eric Fulmer, um, he asked me, or he mentioned in joking, he's like, you should do a story where Diamond Dog dies of a in a hotel room full of cocaine and hookers. And I'm just like how do I challenge accepted, first of all, and how do I do that in context of making it a horror slash sci-fi type story? So I toiled around with the idea and I came up with this idea where Eric created the name Diamond Dog Diggins, and it's basically a dig at guys like David Lee Roth who were so full of themselves and now they're nothing. I mean, Roth is doing lounge acts in Vegas now. That's pretty bad. But so I thought, all right, what if, back in the 80s, he makes a deal with the devil to become, you know, the greatest rock star ever. And he does. And it's at a high cost. And as he progresses, as life goes on, his career starts to dwindle down to the point where he's like a radio DJ on some tiny little radio station in the middle of nowhere, which is what you hear in the background of a couple of scenes in the collectors. So he's working in this radio station that probably 11 people listen to, and now the rent's come due, and the devil is returned. So Diamond Dog contacts like a priest to do what he calls an exorcism, but obviously he's not exorcising the devil. He's just chasing him away, and wackiness ensues from there. And I want I want this one. I'm trying to make this one the quote unquote funny one, because in most of these like 3 episode horror movies like Creep Show and stuff like that, there's always one that tries to be kind of funny, and they usually fall flat. Trilogy of Terror doesn't have one, but you're not going to get humor out of Richard Matheson. You're just going to get scared. Um, so I thought I'm going to really try to make this as funny as I possibly can, and tragic and scary, all in the same story. So that's where I'm at with it right now. I'm probably 2/3 of the way done writing the first draft of it.
Cool. It should be funny. What any ideas on what order you're gonna go in with these? Like, well, do you lead with that one or
I'll probably sandwich it in the middle, because if Nick can't come through with a story, I have one. I have a backup, and between yours and his, they're pretty serious.
Mm.
So I thought maybe I'll break it up with the humorous one, because I don't personally I don't like the idea of leaving on a horror based production. I don't want to leave the audience laughing. Right now, though, yours is the most thought provoking of the 3. So I think I'll put yours on the end to kind of lead off into, which is like what I did with Prey. Prey's kind of open ended like that, and the Collectors is kind of open ended. And then I just like getting back to what the mind your mind filling in the blanks. That's why I think maybe I'll end it with yours.
And I want to be like Nick. 'Cause I'll come up with an idea for a story, and then I'll be
Hmm.
like, "Oh man, I got to write that," and then I'll write maybe a paragraph, and then like, how do you
I am
write by the end of the day? How do you bang out,
I
ugh.
am convinced. I am convinced that Nick has ADHD, but he's been doing martial arts for so long, he's learned how to focus that into a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things he used to do too, he's a detective now, but he used to be a patrolman back in the day, and he would just sit there clocking speeders with his steno pads, just writing down everything he can think of, and he's got countless notebooks in his office, just chock full of ideas.
Yeah.
And so he just, I imagine he just pulls something out, and a lot of good writers do that, I guess. One of my favorite comic book writers, he well, back in the day, I'm sure it's on a computer now, but back in the day, he had a file cabinet, and
Yeah.
every news article that he read, because he was an avid newspaper reader, every single news article that he read that seemed interesting, he would cut it out, and he had in his file cabinet, he had various categories to put stuff in. And when he needed an idea, I guess he would just blind draw, pull something out, and go, "Look at this." That's what the guy. I don't know if you've ever seen Bubba Hotep.
No.
Okay, yeah, okay. Put it on your list of movies to see.
Don Coscarelli was the director of that.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the guy that wrote I don't know if he also wrote the short story that Bubba Hotep was based on, but he pulled out 2 random articles about, one was about the Kennedy assassination, and the other was about like some old folks being mistreated at a old folks home, and somehow went, and Bubba Hotep came out of all that. So,
I gotta watch it though, because he directed John Dies at the End, and
mhm,
you know, I'm
it
sure I'd
shows.
like it.
Yeah,
So
it shows. Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere or not,
Hmm.
but it's definitely worth. I've seen it. I don't know how many times. It's funny and creepy all at the same time. Well, I think that's about enough for this episode. Um, let us know if you like this idea. We'll do this a little bit more, because one, Steve and I don't get to talk enough about the craft, as they
Crap.
call it, or just fiction in general. And we want to do this a little bit more, but we don't want to do this if it's going to bore you. So just let us know. You can, if you're inclined to look at us, we're on YouTube. We might, it might be scarier than the shows to watch us, but you can find us on under Big Broccoli Studios, the Mysterious Traveler. There's actually a couple episodes that I've tweaked of the audio plays on YouTube as well. That kind of, they're a little more entertaining than just looking at a static image. If you don't want to just listen to a story. Anything else you want to add?
Just want to thank you for having me on. This has been fun.
No, I want to thank you for being on.
You're welcome.
Again, I'm humbled. It blows my mind every day. I just had that Facebook post reminder come up today, and it was I wrote it last year about all the people that have helped me on this and all the people that listen to it. And there's more people now than there was a year ago, which is mind blowing. I've picked up 3 or 4 more actors, and all these people are doing this show out of the goodness of their heart, putting all their talent into it as much as they can. And it's just, it's flabbergasting. It really is.
You're building a community here, man.
Well, until next time, thanks for listening or watching.